Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another special episode of Herschel Talkers. Make sure to rate and subscribe and hit the like and notification button, trying to get those YouTube views up. Got another special return guest. Got our buddy Derrick Dawg, as we call him. How we doing today, Derrick?
Good. How you guys doing?
There he is. We also got Hans Gruber, Big Sean in the house. How we doing today?
Not bad.
Pretty good. All right, we'll jump right into it. Georgia's beatdown of Arkansas last week, 37 to nothing. We were there in person, Sean and I, lower level, section 103. Great environment for a noon kick. Game day was there.
What did you have to eat, Trey? You've already given them so many details.
What did I have to eat? I didn't eat anything at the game. I got some.
That'd be incorrect. I believe you had a Gatorade or a Powerade and a thing of popcorn.
Yeah, I did have some popcorn. Yeah, good call. But man, it was a little hot in the first or second quarter, but great win. That defense is elite, even better than elite. Had a punt block for a touchdown. Just overall beat down. Got actually a little boring in the second half, to be honest. We were there, we walked around in the third quarter because they had it. But just punched the Hogs in the mouth. What was your thoughts on the game, Derrick?
I shocking in a good way. I thought, coming into it, I thought Arkansas noon games always make me nervous as it is. And I thought that they were going to just come in and, keep it decently close. And then we would kind of pull away as the second half came on. But man, the defense is, as Kirby's been saying, is definitely elite. I always, back when you think back to on the linebacker side, Roquan Smith was, to me, one of the masters of controlling our defense. But Nakobe Dean is definitely driving down. I mean, he was all over that field. He was in the backfield every little bit you could see him. And just, the way he helps. The leadership, I think, is a big thing on the defensive side, to where those guys are clicking on all cylinders, and they ain't letting much of anything get past them, which, is definitely a breath of fresh air, because, sometimes we've had in the past to where, you didn't know where the leadership was at times, but on the defensive side, you definitely see it. And on the offensive side, it was great to see us running the ball again.
Sure.
We have one of the deepest backfields in all of college football. And, we haven't necessarily fully had to rely on them, but it was good that when we did need to, they were crushing it. And Zamir was looking good. Cook broke a few good runs there. And when Milton got that touchdown, and we had to bring in a couple big boys and Carter blocking three guys at once was a sight to see. It was a good win.
Yeah, definitely 37-0. What's your thoughts, Sean?
We talked about this on last week's podcast, but, we brought up the concern from Arkansas standpoint about the fact that they had just, traveled, 3 weeks in a row, either neutral game or away games. And, they were in an absolute war with Texas A&M, where their defense was on the field a lot. And so having to come, to the East Coast, to Athens for 12 o'clock start time, 11 o'clock their time, how much was fatigue going to factor in? Because they don't really have a whole lot of depth. And I think that's kind of what you saw. They looked really flat to me. I think they played hard. They just, they're just exhausted, I think. And Georgia handled business. The other thing too is I think that if we really didn't know that JT Daniels wasn't going to start or that it was a potential issue until Friday. And then I think had you asked anybody, to take odds on was Stetson Bennett starting, was it going to be 37-0 or not? I think most people would have said, oh, hell no. Right. But, he did enough. I mean, other than the one stupid throw into triple coverage that fortunately was dropped or knocked down or whatever you want to call it. He managed the game well. He managed the team well. It's just, obviously it's important that we get JT Daniels back, but, it's kind of big for Stetson to be able to step in there and, handle it effectively.
Yeah, definitely great win, 37-0. To me, the positives were like the running game definitely got going over 200 yards. They ran it 50 something times. We only threw it 11 times. My question is, do you guys think they need to maybe narrow the running backs down to maybe 2 to 3 and go to them more to try to get more consistency? There was that one series, there was 4 guys in, and then, later it was the Dejon Edwards show. Do you feel like maybe we need to pick 2 or 3 and kind of go with those guys? Because you can't get a rhythm, because you're going to have a game maybe where they stop the passing game if we use it, and you got to rely on the run.
Yeah, well,
go ahead, Derrick, and then I'll.
No, I was just going to say I think it's when you're bringing them in and out, definitely, you want to keep fresh legs, but they've got to get a rhythm. It's just like, a quarterback, the 2 quarterback system of bringing them out every other series, it doesn't really work very well because a quarterback, they can't get a rhythm. Same thing with the running backs. Then, once they get going, man, you gotta let them loose. And I definitely think, I get we're so deep there that we want to play them all, but there's not enough ball to go around, kind of thing. And you got to give it to your big horse. And Zamir White's one of those who's, he's averaging a decent amount of yards, and, whoever's the hot hand, you got to let them run it more than 1 or 2 plays. And then you're bringing in 3 other guys, kind of thing.
Yeah. The whole idea of are we playing too many guys? Are we not letting them get into enough rhythm? I think the one thing that we're not used to seeing, I think part of it is we're judging this from prior years past, where we were very run heavy, and, we were probably going to score somewhere between 28 and 38 points a game. But,
right.
And the thing is it was going to be sustained drives. I think the one thing that really hasn't been talked about a lot so far this year is that this offense is incredibly explosive despite all the injuries, and they're incredibly efficient. It doesn't take them long to score. And again, part of that's attributable to the defense because of the fact that a lot of times they're giving us the ball on the opposing team's 40-yard line. So we only have to go, 60 yards to score a touchdown. So, and a lot of times too, because we're scoring and getting up so quickly, even against Arkansas, where we have 21-0 at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like coasting at that point, you know what I mean? And so it's not, I think the whole rhythm thing, you kind of want to get guys in a rhythm, but it's really hard to do when you're scoring that fast and when you're kind of blowing teams out that quickly too. At that point, I think probably what their thinking or mindset is let's just get these guys some level of reps so that, they keep, game rhythm and game speed and game conditioning in place, but we're not necessarily unduly risking injuries either, especially when you look at what they've got it, with, JT Daniels' situation. To me, that's the craziest thing about the season so far, that, again, the defense is absolutely amazing, but it's almost hysterical that we basically got a gimp at quarterback with JT Daniels, because of that issue. And then and when he hasn't really been able to throw. He was injured in that Clemson game. I think everybody knows that. And when he hasn't been able to play, you've had 5'8" former walk-on Stetson Bennett in there, and we're still 8th in the nation scoring, which is just crazy. It's just, I think it's just kind of hard for them just to do a whole lot. And I think that probably they're just trying to minimize injuries. I think that if you see a closer game, you probably will see more reps go to certain guys. I did notice, though, I feel like in Arkansas that maybe into the second and third quarters, what's his name?
You've been big on James Cook. You said
James Cook. I think they gave a heavy dose to him. It seemed like he got a lot of the runs. I think he's the best running back on the team so far this year in terms of his ability to make explosive plays.
Yeah, he definitely has the best hands too, and catching capabilities too.
So,
all right, well, I'll talk about the big issue because I'll let you know how. Derek's probably with me.
Is it the big little issue?
Whatever you want to call it, big little issue. Hey, so I was pissed off Friday when I started getting all the text, Holly Rowe, Bennett's going to start. All right. Nothing against the kid, but he's got limitations. He's not going to get where, he's not going to get you where you want to be. Everybody says, hey, this defense is great. But I think you need 30 plus to beat Bama. I know you're looking down the road. And then you got JT Daniels, Humpty Dumpty, Glass Man. I mean, and they'll get you beat. And you're probably going to have to play Bama twice if we play them. So, yeah. and then now we have 7 scholarship wide receivers that we're playing with. Blaylock looked like he's not coming back. He reactivated his hamstring. You got George Pickens probably won't play. Hopefully he plays. Is he going to play?
So wait a minute. Blaylock's not coming back this year?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying it looked like he reactivated his hamstring. You got Marcus Rosemary Jack Saint's got ankle injury. So it's like you're going to need these dudes in one of these games. I mean, we're not just going to blow through everybody. No, our defense is great. We can win, a fist fight, but can you win a shootout? Is what I want to know. And it's going to catch up with us. And I just, so my question is, how would you handle Daniels going down the stretch, and what game would you like to see him in? Obviously, I'd like to see him already mentally focused, like, hey, he's not going to play this week. Sit him. Like, ice him up, sit him out, even though Auburn's going to be tough on the road. So what's your thoughts on Daniels? Because that's what everybody wants to know.
Derrick, you can start.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately with Daniels, it's, we went from it was just an oblique to where did this lat injury come is what I want to know. Where did it come from? Like, it came out of the blue, like you caught wind of it, that there was this lat injury. And then the reports that I've seen said it's like the lowest on the scale of lat injuries, but he's seeming like he can't really throw. And then Kirby today said they're not really having him throw, but he's still at practice. It's, I mean, he hasn't played a full game in 4 weeks.
Yeah. And
now, we're coming up on Auburn. I mean, if we can sit him and afford and still, be able to take down Auburn, I'm for him to get healthy all the way up until Florida. But, who knows if that's really going to do, if we were to sit him from now until Florida, is that going to be enough time for him to be good, or is something else going to come? I've just never seen so many like random injuries just come out of the woodworks like they have with him. Like, Aaron Murray saying on his podcast, he was playing with broken ribs. Yeah. And it's kind of that, when you're a quarterback, you want to see some of that grit. Like, are you going to be 100% all the time? No, you just kind of make it work and make it happen, kind of thing. And it just, because I hate seeing that. We know sooner or later we're going to have to rely on, someone to throw the ball. And Bennett, can he make passes? Yes, he can. And, he's done it in small games, but in big games, he unfortunately throws some unnecessary interceptions. And our defense, they're going to hold him for a little while, but they can't be, doing it multiple times to where our offense is turning the ball over, because that, that's leaving them on the field longer. So, that's where my point on is, where our QB development is, in the sense of, we're about halfway through the season. Why, where's BVG at on grooming him to, because he's he's one of the future. We got Gunnar Stockton coming in next year, but BVG's he's one of the future quarterbacks possibly at UGA. And why is he just sitting fourth in the depth chart and not, you're grooming him to move him up to hopefully by the end of the year, if we need to call on him to be the backup, he can do it, kind of thing. Instead of, it's all we have is really Bennett that we can, lean on. So it's definitely, I wish it was anything, but it's a little nerve wracking. You don't know what type of injury it's going to be, and when no one knows. And that's the weird part. No one knows when JT will be fully healthy. So I think that's the other question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think part of it is that, Kirby really doesn't, I don't think he's necessarily done JT Daniels any favors. Maybe he's tried to protect. It's the same possibility. Maybe the kid's just soft. But right. The other thing is that nobody even knew this kid was hurt really until after the Clemson game. But it was pretty obvious from the plays that were called that he wasn't able to throw the ball. So I don't think we really know the severity of the injury, right? But it's clearly like bad enough to where it's it's impacted his ability to throw, and it kind of sounds like too where it may have been a bit of a catch-22 bringing, because it sounds like at least last week in practice, he practiced one day, the next day he'd be too sore to throw, and then Wednesday he threw again, and then Thursday he was too sore to throw. So if it's just a muscle injury, I guess could be fine. I mean, and yeah, Aaron Murray, I guess, he was gritty. He did play with, a lot of tough injuries. I mean, but I guess I kind of feel like a broken bone in your ribs different from, muscles that you're using to throw a football as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think that can, impact your throwing motion. I mean, I think it even impacted Drew Brees this last year. So I don't know that it's quite analogous per se. I mean, I'm not trying to defend the kid if he's being overly soft, but the big thing is just get him healthy. As far as where BVG is, I think it kind of is what it is. You'd like to kind of have him further along or developing, but I don't know if it's what the situation is there. I mean, I think they need to upgrade the quarterback coach position. I felt that way for a while. I think Monken's great at wide receivers and all in plays, but it's I kind of compare it to how Adai is done at DB coach. I mean, there's a noticeable improvement in terms of our kids play, and also in their level of preparedness for games as opposed to last year. And so part of that is just maybe Kirby needs to look and adjust something there in the offseason. Don't think he will, but with the offense scoring the way it is. But I guess for now, what we've just got to do is I think we got to win the next two, hope that JT Daniels, is healthy and ready to go for Florida. I'm hard pressed to think again, unless if it's something way more serious that they just missed, that it's just simply a muscle issue, though. There's no way it could simply be a grade 1 muscle issue either and have that many issues, I would think.
I mean, they're saying it's really similar to Dak Prescott, what he dealt with during Hard Knocks. If you watch that, and during the preseason and the camp for Dallas, and they said his was a lot more severe, and he was out 3 or 4 weeks. So that would make sense for Florida. But mentally, I'm thinking hopefully we can get through Auburn and Kentucky with him, and you'll have that bye week and have him ready for Florida.
Right.
That would be ideal. But we'll see. Another thing, you can tell, Sean's with you. You can tell when it's Monken's offense and Kirby doesn't handcuff him because he doesn't want to run it 50 times and only throw it 11. You can tell, when it's his offense. But all right, and now we're going to move on to Georgia Auburn, number 18 Auburn against number 2 Georgia. How do you say it? The old Deep South Soldiers rivalry, is that what it's called? 120. Yep. And then in the history, right. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that is right.
Okay, and Georgia's actually won 13 out of 16, been pretty much domination. I think Sean says it's not really even rivalry anymore. It is. Gus Malzahn, 2017, we beat the dog crap out of them. And then 2019, seems like all the good stuff happens in Jordan Hare. 2019, how about them fucking dogs,
That's right.
Great. And I think you can kind of tell Kirby doesn't like Auburn or didn't like Gus. And then now you have who's the coach for Auburn? Brian, is it Brian? What's his name?
Harden or Harden or something like that?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Coming over from Boise State. So he'll get his first dose of it. But 14.5 point spread. Bo Nix looking like Johnny Manziel last week against LSU, throwing it around against them crazy. But I'm thinking you're not going to do that against that defense. We've given Bo Nix problems the last 2 times we played them. It is going to be ruckus crowd. They're coming off a big win. We do have Bennett on the road in a big environment. He has played big games before this, but this might be his first big full stadium, and that place gets rocking. So 14.5 point spread. What's your thoughts, and what would you like to see?
It's anytime going to an atmosphere that's going to be there. They're going to be rocking and rolling. They think, they're putting it out there. Bo Nix is back, and their offense.
I didn't realize he had arrived yet.
Right.
Good point.
I mean, well, the crazy thing is if you watch that game against LSU, there was like 3 or 4 missed tackles each time when Bo Nix got loose, to where they should have had him sacked and didn't. Our defense not going to make we don't have the old we can't make tackle disease like we used to. And, Bo Nix is not going to be able to sit back there in a lazy boy and run around and have all day to throw it like that. So, the biggest question mark is going to be Bennett. If he's starting, what is he is he going to make a couple mistakes and throw some picks, or is he going to be, we're going to be able to run the ball and then it'll make it easier for him to kind of get it to Bowers, Washington, or whoever, and not make those mistakes. That's the one big question mark, and it's a very big one, because anytime you're at an opposing team's place, especially over Auburn at the old farmland at the barn, it's that's tough, and it just anytime you got that, even though we've won as many as we have out of the last amount of games, it's still at the end of the day in a rivalry, anything can happen kind of thing, and
Yeah.
Still worrying about JT Daniels, I think is the one thing that just worries me, especially with them coming off a big win, because they feel like they have nothing to lose kind of thing.
Yeah, they want to spoil our party.
Yeah.
So looking at the matchups, I think this plays right in our hands again. They got Bigsby, which I have been hearing is a great running back, but he is a little banged up. I hear they got some offensive line problems. And I think, Nix is going to be running around with his head cut off the whole time. They're going to be chasing him. And I think they're lacking at wide receiver. Fired their wide receiver coach, a couple of weeks ago. They do have D-Rob. He's been a little banged up, former Georgia player. But I think that kind of plays into our hands. And I just noticed this. I didn't look at that. That's crazy. 4.6 you're giving up a game.
Yeah.
And then you're only giving up 67 yards rushing. If Auburn can't get any kind of running game the last 2 times, I think they're in trouble. I really match up.
And I also think Kirby, knowing kind of the schemes that Bobo runs,
Yep.
will play a big part too. Will, and so I think that's going to help as well.
Exactly. I'm gonna go ahead and make my pick. 14.5 point spread. I like 28-10. I think Auburn makes the game in the first half, and I just think we have more athletes, lean on them, run heavy. Probably not going to put Bennett in any type of high pressure situations. Probably play it safe. So I like 28-10 in Jordan here. Hopefully get out of there with no injuries.
I like it.
What's your pick, Derrick?
I'm going 24-3 Dogs.
Oh wow. Okay. 3.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So
How about Sean? What would you like to see, and what matchups do you like?
Well, I mean, to me, I think the key is going to be, as it has been for it's Stetson Bennett, right? And so I think what they're going to need is, similar to what the defense did for him last week, give him, the ball as close to his midfield as you can. That way he doesn't have to necessarily, drive as far. I think you need a big game again. Cook, because I think he's really the X factor in the offense, and just kind of give Stetson kind of simple stuff underneath. I mean, maybe occasionally let him take one long if it's open, but try to keep as much of it, underneath as you can, and just play. I mean, I'll say something along the lines of like 28-10, maybe.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I think they could get maybe a junk touchdown on the back end. But yeah, I think we all agree they should cover and take care of business. Hopefully get out of there with no injuries. Any update from anybody's heard on are we getting any of the wide receivers back? Any chance of maybe getting Arian Smith would be great. He's been out, I don't know how long, a shin bruise. 3 games is a lot. What's he coming up on his 4th? It'd be good to have him back.
I think you'll probably have
Mikey Smith back, maybe.
I think you'll probably get at least Jackson or whatever his name is back, probably for Kentucky. He'll probably do some reps similar to what Washington did last week. And I think you probably get Arian Smith and Blaylock back for Florida, I would guess, just kind of based on how things are going. Could be sooner. I mean, Kirby has said that as a presser that they all have a possibility of playing this week, but it doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. I would think probably Jack Saint's the closest though.
And Derek, I know we got a little inside joke. We got a new poor man's Landers. Guess who it is?
It was Robinson.
Justin Robinson.
Drops.
Yeah, he is terrible.
Man,
He is.
I swear he sprays Pam on his gloves before every game because it just hits those hands and just right out of them.
Yeah. And I think he had a stupid penalty. There was like a slant pass right in his hands on the thing. Like he's done that twice. I'm like, I think I yelled in. That's another Matt Landers when we were at the game. And man, I know they got to play because they're down some guys, but man, and then they were like hyping that kid up that he was a poor man's Megatron coming out. He can't catch it.
I hope he can get it figured out, but man, he has had some tough drops.
Yes. So hopefully we get some of these guys back, but we all agree Georgia should take care of business. Hopefully. Moving on, it's another great slate of games. That's a 3:30 game. We're also that's going to be 3 straight weeks. We're at 3:30. We're going to have. I think we get your boy Aaron Murray there is going to call the game. Sean.
Oh, nice.
And then Kentucky's going to be 3:30, and of course Georgia, Florida. Big one, Red River shootout at 12. Point spreads 3.5. Does Oklahoma take an L in this one because they've been having 9 lives? They've barely been surviving in all those games.
I actually think Oklahoma is going to win this because, like, when I saw Texas play, I forget how I saw them play earlier in the year, but it was far and away the worst tackling I have ever seen in college football.
Probably against Arkansas.
No, it was against a smaller school. That's what was crazy about it. So to me, Texas ain't so hot on defense. I mean, I know they can put up some points, but Oklahoma's defense is pretty good. I think kind of playing against crappy defense probably helps Oklahoma some.
3.5 point spread. You got Oklahoma, all right?
I've got Texas by at least 10 points.
Oh wow!
I mean, if you've watched Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler is not the Spencer Rattler from last year. I don't know. And Kirby had done in an interview saying that overall for a lot of schools, quarterback play is down this year. And one thing that could go towards that is all these players signing these deals. I mean, you look at DJ at Clemson not playing the same as he played last year for them when he came in that Notre Dame game, a couple other games. And then you look at Spencer Rattler, which was looked at to be a preseason Heisman Trophy candidate, and he's not played good, turning the ball over. I feel Texas is since they've lost to Arkansas, they're steamrolling teams and playing pretty good. And I just feel like Oklahoma has been skating by, and their 9 lives is about to come to an end on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Texas too. Thinking about what you said, I like Sarkisian dialing up a good plan. But if I was betting, man, I'd take that plus 3.5. I like Texas covering too.
Yep.
Shootout, no defense.
That's it.
How about battle of the losers right here? I'm bringing up popcorn right here, and we got yes sir. Got Arkansas at Ole Miss. Man, this Arkansas schedule is brutal. Is this the 4th straight on the road game? I know they had some neutral sites game. And you got Matt Corral. They got beat up by Bama 42-21. 6-point spread. What you like in this one? I think that do you think that Mingo injury caused any problems, or just Bama was even better? And how about the fourth down calls? What do you guys think about that, Sean or Derek?
I mean, I thought it was stupid. Yeah, I mean, it killed your momentum. I mean, you just take the points. It's rare to me, like going for 4th down score. It either works out great or it ends up basically ruining the game for you. I've never really seen it where it doesn't affect the game somehow.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's you can't, when you're playing against a team like Bama, you can't go for it on 4th down in your like 29-yard line. Like I get what Lane Kiffin was wanting to go in make a statement, but that's definitely not how you do it.
No, it's not the statement you make, I guess. The statement he made is just village idiot, Lane.
well, I mean, you kind of, the way Lane was starting it off, like in the before the game interview where he kind of does the mic drop where he's like, just grab your popcorn. Like, come on, man. Like, you got to beat Bama first before you start doing that kind of showboat and stuff. Like, all that's going to do is Saban's going to hear that, and Saban's going to be, they're going to turn it up even more on you. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Ole Miss is this week. To, I think if Arkansas's quarterback can be a little bit more healthy from his bone bruise, I think Arkansas can go in there and shock Ole Miss, because something tells me I'm wondering if Kiffin has been on the phone a little bit in the DMs with USC about if they're interested in bringing him back.
Wow. We were talking about that a couple podcasts ago.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Rumor mill would be great. Hey, no chance Urban's getting a call this week? Got a lot of stuff going on with Meyer.
he getting called by them girls at the bar.
That was bad. That was so bad. I thought it wasn't him for a little bit, and then they figured. Then when he apologizes everybody Friday, it was him. So I'm like, all right.
Dude, he is doing the typical find any reason to get let go, because he doesn't. It's tough. I knew something was going to come when he said in an interview after the season started that coaching the NFL is like coaching against Saban every week and playing against a bunch of 5-stars. I mean, if it's that tough, like, you knew he was sooner or later he's going to try finding something to get him out of where he is.
Right. Yeah, bad start for him for sure. I guess is it game day? They announced game day. Is it Penn State, Iowa? I haven't heard.
No, they're going to the Red River rivalry.
Oh, they're doing another noon game? That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Then you got Penn State against surprisingly number 3 Iowa. It's two. Looks like Iowa -2. What's your guys' thoughts on this?
I mean,
2 and top.
It's the one thing is I'm sure it might be a shootout. I think Penn State went. I can't take Iowa seriously as a high ranked team. I just can't. Like, and I'm still in the firm belief, if Iowa was in the SEC, they would be at best atop the 4th best team if they were lucky. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. And yeah, they beat an Iowa State team, but Iowa State's showing they're not as good as they were last year. So, it's Big Ten football to me is it's not as exciting as the SEC. It just isn't to me, anyways.
So who'd you have to pick? You got Penn State or who'd you pick?
Yeah, I got Penn State. I think James Franklin. The one thing about him, man, when he gets that hot hand, it goes all the way back when he was coaching at Vandy, and when he would getting 9 wins at Vandy, which no one has done really since. I mean, so he gets that hot hand coaching, man. He can turn it on. It's going to be a tough one, that's for sure.
Yeah, I have to go with I like Penn State too, maybe like 28-24. I think Iowa's got pretty good defense, but there might be a defensive battle. But I think last week them getting 5 picks on Tabaga Baga Jr. Brother was Maryland. We were watching that game at the bar. Sean calls them the fighting pedophiles, right, Sean?
That's right.
All right, and then LSU and Kentucky. I know Derrick might want to bring this up. So, Cookie Monster Olgeron, is he on life support? Does he need to win this one, win out? What's your thoughts? And who would be a good candidate for the LSU spot?
Yeah, I've got if Kentucky beats LSU, that's the nail in the coffin. I think for them, because I mean, where they still got to play Bama, which will be a loss for LSU. I mean, it's Coach O. This is. If he doesn't win against Kentucky, you can go ahead and put that nail in the coffin, in my opinion. And they're going to be looking to move on. He's kind of he falls into the realm of the old Gene Chisnick at Auburn. Everything just aligned and got a national championship, which is great. But then afterwards, can't really get it going again. And I think this is where Coach O is. But it'll be interesting to see. I've seen some rumors on who they think would replace him would be. They're saying Lane Kiffin is someone, and then James Franklin, which I don't know the move from Ole Miss to LSU, what kind of a difference that would make. I mean, I feel like Lane Kiffin's done a great job so far at Ole Miss, to where could he do that much more better at LSU? I mean, that would be, I guess, interesting to see. But I think I've got Kentucky beating them. I do.
Yeah, I think Kentucky's got a lot to play for. It sounds like that Commonwealth Stadium is a hard place to play. LSU's got some problems. I like that pick too. Sean, how about, because you always like looking at this, is LSU like a top 10 program, destination for a coach, top 20? Where do you see LSU?
Yeah, it's up. Yeah, it's up 10. Probably, yeah. I mean, some of it's like fluid, right? I think it's probably safer to maybe talk about like a top 15 in terms of like program success and facilities. All that's going to kind of adjust it. But like LSU is going to be a super attractive job to a lot of people because you've got so much homegrown talent there. You're right by Houston as well, so it's easy for you to get players from that area.
Right.
You've just got an incredibly passionate fan base. As far as I guess they could fire Coach O. Aren't they still paying like? Are they still paying Les Miles though? Because I felt like they really had to go to the well to get Coach O. And so now you're going to like fire him because they probably gave him a contract extension after the national title game, right?
They gave as like a couple of years ago, I think it was a year or two ago.
So they're going to be in the same boat Tennessee is, where you're paying 3 different coaches.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Franklin would leave. Franklin's kind of like a Northeastern kind of guy.
Yeah, I agree.
How about we go back to some of those names you like, Sean, for the USC job, who you'd look at? Go ahead and say those again. It could be a good fit.
Bill O'Brien. And that actually might fit a little bit because he does have some ties after being like the Houston Texans coach. He was the one that turned Penn State around immediately after the Jerry Sandusky stuff.
You know who would love to have him back? He's sitting there, the elephant in the room. Come on, Sean.
Joe Brady.
There you go. Go back home. What do you think?
I don't think Joe Brady will go back for a college job, though.
What I've read about Joe Brady is said that he's content in the NFL because he doesn't have to worry about recruiting. So right. I think that plays a big. But what about if things cool down with Urban Meyer and he pulls a Nick Saban and then takes over at LSU?
Yeah, I mean, he could. They would. It'd be crazy enough to take him. I think
100% they would.
Just don't go after Monken or Lanning. I got a feeling that defense continues. Lanning's going to be a big name, maybe a smaller.
I don't so much care about Lanning. I mean, he's pretty like replaceable.
Well, speaking of that, probably because it's coming, I want to throw this real quick. So, would you like Lanning goes? Would you like just moving Champ over Muschamp and have him as your DC? Would you be happy with that? I feel like that'd be plug and play. Great, good. Not a good head coach, good coordinator,
I would be very happy with that because I still think when Muschamp got over this year, even before he had to take over for Cochran, when he was just an analyst, there was something different about some of the blitzes and stuff our defense has been doing that we weren't doing before. Right. So I feel like Muschamp has definitely helped a little bit on our defense. How much, what exactly, I don't know exactly, but you definitely can tell we're putting a pressure on quarterbacks and stuff that we've never used to be able to do. Now, our front seven is awesome, but at the same time, some of our schemes and stuff, I think Muschamp has been able to help with because as a defensive coordinator, in my opinion, Muschamp is one of the best. Now, a head coach, that's is what it is. But as a defensive coordinator, man, there's not many that gets any better when it comes to on the defensive minds.
Yeah, exactly. That was one of the biggest pickups in the offseason. That was great.
Yeah.
Jumping in, so Alabama against Texas A&M, they got no quarterback, got beat last week. 3-2. If Texas A&M gets blown out, I mean, I'm certainly not hot seat, but what's your thoughts on Jimbo? He's not smoking a little bit, but a little pressure on him, right? He'd be 3-3.
I mean, as much money as he's getting paid, I don't know how the seat doesn't become warm. I mean, if you're paying a guy as much as they're paying Jimbo, you got to get results. And I get your quarterback went down, but man, they're just the way they're losing games and playing. It's just, you don't even know what kind of team you're going to get the following week, because it's, 1 minute they're competing, and then the next they're having trouble even putting up points, and their offensive line can't stop anything. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, because I know one thing, those guys out of A&M, after finishing 4th last year, they're getting a little bit of the taste of the national spotlight and how long that they put with where, you're paying a guy like Jimbo that much, but at the same time, can they afford to do anything on moving a guy like Jimbo because of what his buyout would be? So I don't know. That's the $1 million question for sure.
Gotcha. What's your thoughts, Sean, on Jimbo?
I mean, my thought is that I feel like Jimbo Fisher is Mark Richt with a little more luck.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about it, to me, it kind of floored me that he got that much money, because other than those 2 years where he had Mark Stoops as DC and then he had Pruitt the next year at DC, he was basically an 8-4 coach in the ACC, right? I mean, to me, like, if you're a good coach, I think you scratch your head and, trying to figure out where 4 losses comes from you. I mean, Clemson, all right, we'll give you that one. But other than that, like, where do you find 3 other losses in the ACC if you're an elite program? So to me, it's about, he's performing about like I'd expect him to, honestly. And he's not, I mean, I guess he's recruited okay, but the thing is, Bama, Georgia, heck, I even think LSU, honestly, is evaluated and recruited better than Texas A&M has. So I don't know who they get. I mean, to me, you probably need to have some conversations with Jimbo about maybe getting a legit OC in there to just call plays. I think your defense is probably fine, but you need to really he's just got to get better players. He doesn't have a championship roster.
It's only going to get harder now that with Texas coming, that's going to affect their recruiting even more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll see. Might be some interesting hot seat talk coming up, especially in the SEC. Also for ACC fans, you guys need to go ahead and throw the basketballs out. You got Wake Forest, and Blue Bloods, and
watch out for them Demon Deacons.
Demon Deacons, yeah, that's the best. They're the best team in the ACC. But yeah, we'll see. Hey, good.
You gotta get. The one thing I'll say is I am surprised a big school hasn't gone and hired that Wake Forest coach yet, because to be 5-0 at a school the size of Wake Forest that has 2,000 students and be as scrappy as that team is, nothing but respect.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. You can win down there for sure. All right, real quick, we haven't talked about it yet. We're in I think we're coming up on week 6, counts week 0. Heisman Trophy. So it looks like these are some odds. I just pulled one off the website. Got Bryce Young, of course, Bama, Mac Corral, Desmond Ritter from Cincinnati, CJ Stroud.
Where did you get this list from? You got Travion Henderson and CJ Stroud on the Heisman list? This is crazy.
This is just the odds if you could bet on it. Hey, Sam Howell's 5,000 to 1. Everybody was loving him. He was like the number 1 overall pick a couple weeks ago. Also, another thing, really weak draft class. I wouldn't have any of these dudes as your number 1. Really bad.
Well, I'd probably give a chance to Sam Howell. Like, his receivers have dropped a lot of stuff. Yeah. I mean, he can't catch the ball. I mean, he's not throwing picks.
He's the new Drew Brees, I heard. They were blowing him up that first game, then he goes and lays egg against Vatek.
Man, now one thing I'll say is this year's Heisman race, it's pretty wide open. There's no the way Bryce Young's been playing, I would say he's the most consistent, but there's no by this time you usually have at least 2 or 3 guys that you're like, man, they're just killing it right now. And it's so wide open right now. I mean, it's kind of awesome to see, but at the same time, you don't have just that one guy that's setting them away from the pack right now.
Yeah. I think college football's got a lot of parity this year. You just don't know. I think that Final Four, the top four of the playoffs, going to shift each week. You know, Bama, Georgia, and then the rest is just anybody can sneak in there. You know.
Well, let me ask y'all this: if Georgia goes, we beat Bama in the SEC championship, stay undefeated, right? Bama has one loss, and then say Kentucky only has the loss against us, and it was a close game. Does the SEC able to fight to get 3 teams in?
That's interesting. It would have to be a situation to me where basically the Big 12 and Big 10 would both have to basically implode, because I think the issue we're going to have is I feel like one, but not both of the Big 10 and Big 12 will get at least one in. But the thing is, you know, the Big 10 actually is quietly doing pretty well. I mean, we haven't talked about Mel Tucker at Michigan State, but they're undefeated. And I mean, you've got Iowa and Penn State both in the top 10.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a distinct possibility you could have 2 from each conference.
Hey, the fighting Jim Harbaughs might get the monkey off their back. Beat I'm
going to go ahead. I think that's actually going to happen, because as bad as Ohio State is at defending the run, I mean, Michigan runs the ball really well.
It's true. That is a good point right there, because that's what Oregon did against Ohio State, was just ran all over them, and they couldn't stop them.
Yeah, and Oregon.
Kind of like a lot of Trey's ex-girlfriends.
My dark horse team, who I mentioned all year, I think should get the 4th spot, and they earned it with a big win. I think Cincinnati sneaks in, gets that 4th spot. Played really last year.
No.
Now, if you leave them out, how about they go undefeated? They went 12-0. They're sitting right there.
This is, in my opinion, with all the losses that's happened so far, I mean, this is the looking to be the best chance a group of 5 team has to make the playoff. And I think if you get a group of 5 team to make it, the bigger conferences are going to definitely push for expansion. They're holding off on wanting to expand the playoffs because of the SEC's adding Texas and Oklahoma. And I think that's a dumb reason to do that, because, you know, there's a good chance into this year it could get crowded. But, you know, if the Big Ten kind of beats up itself, the Pac-12 is definitely done after Oregon lost to Stanford. And then, you know, if Texas beats Oklahoma, the Big 12 could essentially knock themselves out. So, and the ACC definitely, I don't, even if Wake Forest somehow went undefeated, I don't think they're making the playoff. But
no, they're not making the playoffs. I feel like the ACC is done. I feel like the Big 12, it's just a matter of time if Oklahoma loses or not. Because if they do, they're not getting in.
Well, right now, if you had it right today, I was looking at CBS Sports Bowl projections. It'd be the two playoff games would be Alabama, Oklahoma, and we would play Penn State, the Dogs. And
in other words, we would have the tougher opponent.
Yeah, I think they're kind of leaning towards we'll lose in the SEC championship game, but they think it's going to be close if we both run the table. That's as of tonight. Or I was looking at earlier. Interesting. I'd take on Penn State.
Or what would be interesting is maybe they do let Wake Forest in if they run the table and go undefeated. You let Cincinnati in and you let Penn State in and us. We'll give Bama the bird. See you later.
I mean, yeah. I mean, another thing, we're back to Bama real quick. If there was any game that they might could possibly lose going down the stretch, looking at who has a shot?
There isn't one.
Well,
Bryce Young goes down, and you have to have Paul
That
Wilson,
is true.
great grandson of Paul Bear Bryant. Don't know anything about it. All right, look it up.
I mean, if Bryce Young gets hurt, that change. I definitely think that change. They'll definitely have a shot. I mean, maybe Auburn now surprises, but LSU just doesn't have the offensive side. They can't run the ball very well. They don't. Their quarterback Brad Johnson's son he's got a slinky of an arm, and then you know I just A&M's A&M was the one going into the season. I was like, ooh, I think that could be an up. They're going to be out to upset Bama. Now they're limping around, so I don't think that's going to happen now. So I don't see.
Well, you know who we're forgetting about though is Arkansas. I think they
Arkansas.
may have the best shot.
How about if they can get that running game going? Because Bama, if there's a weakness, is the running game or the run defense so far.
It's true.
I think they're banged up team. I think we took their soul.
Yeah.
I mean, they need a bye week, is what they need. They just need a bye week.
They did.
We're becoming the Shang Tsung of college football, where we took the whole Clemson.
Yeah.
They don't know where they're at. We just finished off Arkansas. They, who knows where they'll be. So we're just moving along. We'll just take the souls of teams.
Exactly. All right, guys. Anything you want to get off your chest? Anything you want to mention on the way out?
Yeah, Trey's a moron.
Thank you. All right. Hey, we're all picking. We all got the dogs over the Tigers and Jordan here. War Eagle, go Dogs, whatever it is.
Go Dogs.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Well, make sure to rate and subscribe. And thanks for following us again on Herschel Talkers, and we're out.